Hey you, do you like over the top anime fights? Well, I do too. And that's what I'm offering you today with this summary of Mr. Outlaw's I am a security guard at a secret government prison, which we're going to condense to the Chasm because that's the name of the prison. And that other name is too long. Now, this is one of my favorite creepypastas on the internet sheerly for the amount of weird, over the top anime style action that goes on in this story. As far as narrative, as far as any other writing in it, it's competently written, it's well written, but as far as any overarching plot or story, there's not a lot going on here. It's mostly just over the top fights, and I am all about that. Like, let's go, let's get some hyper violent fights, let's see some hyper gore. I am ready for that. That being said, I will be spoiling the entirety of this story, so I will leave a link down in the comments to Dark Somnium's narration of this story in its entirety. Uh, Also, Mr. Creepypastas, and also a link to the original story over on Reddit if you want to go read it. If you go check those out, please tell them we sent you. We appreciate that, especially if you're leaving a comment for Mr. Outlaw, because I very much would like to narrate this, and I have had trouble getting in touch with him. So you can go check those out and come back to the video, or you could stay here and have me condense what is essentially a 3.5 hour story down to, I don't know, roughly 40 minutes. Let's see where we're at the end. We are told that the story takes place in a prison known as the Chasm. It is on an island somewhere in the ocean, unknown coordinates, deep underground, completely difficult to find. Housed in this prison are difficult to kill creatures or humanoids known as voids. These are people who, by some happenstance, either ritual or science or whatever, have become superhuman. Currently, our narrator's job is to keep eyes on someone called the Surgeon, who is very dangerous with a scalpel, and can teleport at will if you don't keep your eyes on him, which is probably something I've seen somewhere before, but whatever. I'm here for the ride. Let's go. We switch over to a scene in the cafeteria where we are quickly introduced to the power difference from a void to a human, as a void known as Morgie the Corgi, who is essentially a giant man who talks like a baby in a fursuit, comes in and basically destroys the entire cafeteria. Our narrator is able to slip away from this event, and personally, Morgie's my least favorite character because of being a baby talking furry. Our narrator finds himself above the facility gym, and an augmented human guard is working out as we get another void introduction. Luz, a man missing half his face, showing an exposed skull which crackles with red electricity. He walks in, gets a 90-pound plate chucked at him, which breaks some of his ribs, before the augmented guard charges Luz and tries to tackle him, and is immediately turned into a black steaming mush. Turns out Luz can electrify whatever he touches in the blink of an eye. So big mistake on the guard's behalf, but this is only to again show the power scale we're dealing with, because not only can Luz turn anything he touches into mush, he can also heal pretty quickly from broken ribs. It's probably the best power, honestly. No time to sit in that though, because we get another void introduction. A nearby door is busted off the hinges as Wirehead, a man with his face wrapped completely in barbed wire, dressed in a leather coat and torn jeans, starts bashing his way through the corridor, from which our narrator flees. Our narrator isn't a very brave man and is basically just meat with eyes, so he gets no real description, and that's fine. Show me more monsters and violence, and my monkey brain is happy. It's about at this point in the story that I'm super in. I love this kind of crap. As he flees, he hears a guard he knows, Sandu, over the radio and is told to come to a certain location, but that instruction is cut off as our narrator almost runs into Diaxic, a large shadow-like void with no face and long robes. His primary power is that he has a zone that basically kills you if you enter it. It will cause you to physically freeze in place and just hemorrhage from every hole in your body. So our narrator uses the secret Joestar technique of running away, only to come face to face with the undead German soldier. who is exactly what you'd expect, but has a flamethrower that shoots black fire that yields pain beyond comprehension. Thankfully, our narrator is saved by Sandu, who drags him into a secret part of the prison through a hidden wall panel. And here we get the narrator's position of safety for most of the story. Someone has set up a secret observation room, tapped into all the cameras in the facility, from which we can enjoy all the hyper gore in relative safety. Which he does by watching Diaxic getting doused in fire by the undead German soldier. The first part of this story ends with our narrator settling in to watch the fights during what will presumably be his last day on Earth. Personally, I'm already locked in, and I hope you are too. I want to see more weird monster people. I want to see how crazy their powers get. The only criticism I have of this story so far is that it's not a horror story. It's an action-heavy anime pretending to be a horror story, but it's so fun and entertaining, I don't even care. The only other thing we have to grab onto is the mystery of this secret surveillance room, but who cares? Monsters are fighting in the hallway. We open our next section with the observation room being described as creepy, and our narrator watching the first official fight of the series, Luz vs. Wirehead. Place your fictional bets down in the comments. Before we get into the fight, though, we get this story's power level system. The voids are ranked as such from lowest to highest: tornado, tsunami, hurricane, earthquake, and asteroid, with the upper two tiers being near apocalyptic in strength. We're told Luz is a high tornado and Wirehead is a mid hurricane. I only explain this because it pops up a few times and is just a fun way to try and predict the fights. It's like power levels from Dragon Ball Z. It's enjoyable because it kind of establishes stakes, but let's see if it actually matters. So back to the fight. Luz and Wirehead square off, with Luz attempting to electrocute Wirehead with simple strikes and grabs. Sadly, his electricity doesn't seem to be doing the trick, every time being answered with wild swings and savagery from Wirehead's barbed wire bat, his body being completely chipped away. Luz doesn't react to the damage. We're told he can feel no pain, and is from a clan of people from the Arctic Circle, which was decimated in an incident that Luz swears vengeance for. After Luz takes a misguided attempt to grab Wirehead by the throat and electrify him, he is picked up and his spine is broken on some nearby railing. He gets ragdolled around and his body almost completely destroyed. With the fight seemingly won, Wirehead gets distracted and Luz uses his one remaining good hand to climb up Wirehead's body, driving his hand into the creature's skull and ending the fight with a forceful bout of electroconvulsive therapy. Sandu and our narrator question how far Luz will make it in his current state as he crawls with his one good hand away from the fight. Turns out, the power level system in this story is pretty meaningless, just like Dragon Ball Z. We get confirmation that the undead German soldier in fact did finish Diaxic, and we get an update on my least favorite character, Morgie the Corgi, who made quick work of a void known as Death's Shadow. Death's Shadow apparently picked his own nickname, so, he never really stood a chance, did he? Time for our next official fight, taking place in the kitchen. We have a void known as Trench, who is invisible unless viewed through cameras or mirrors and possesses high strength and an aura that puts a large amount of atmospheric pressure on those in his vicinity. He is rated at a mid-hurricane. On the other side is Senju, a man trained in the race style of martial arts and apparently possessed by a demon. His primary personality trait is that he wants to fight strong people, so he's basically a psychotic Goku. God, I love this story. The fight starts with Senju rushing forward and delivering an uncountable number of punches, elbows, and knees, which seemingly have no effect. He gets grabbed by the throat and ragdolled against a wall, at which point Senju stops caring about martial arts and just starts throwing knives like Dio. One sticks in Trench's head, finally causing damage, and Senju capitalizes on this discovery by rushing forward and slashing at Trench's face. In a maelstrom of strikes, Trench swings for Senju's temple, which is blocked but causes the disabling of Senju's arm and pushes him back. Senju responds by using his good arm to grab a table and swing it at Trench's head, incapacitating Trench, then diving onto him and using a frying pan to introduce the entire volume of his head to the floor. The narrator and Sandu comment on their rating system not meaning anything, which is a fun little nod to what we already know. Senju tries to walk away, but his head is quickly dematerialized as a void known as Satanbot catches him off guard. Satanbot is rated as an Earthquake tier void and is basically a monster straight out of Doom Eternal. Looks like Satan, Gatling gun for a hand, rocket launcher mounted on a shoulder, spiked tail, made seemingly living metal. So, flawless victory for Satanbot, I guess. The narrator and Sandu are unsettled by him being free and decide to shift monitors. We're introduced to Hugo Wright, or the Brutal Bishop, a man dressed in a priest vicar's outfit who wishes to cleanse the earth of sin, which he considers to be the entirety of the human race. He climbs down from a pile of guards he sent to Jesus and then wanders into Kale Silva, a vampire cop. He's a former cop from Brazil turned vampire who used to use his powers for good till he turned himself in after making a mistake during his anti-hero run of justice. Both are rated at a low hurricane. Our narrator finds a volume switch, and now we can hear fighter dialogue. Kale and Hugo exchange quips about destroying the other, both viewing each other as evil, both characters seemingly lawful in their concepts of justice. Whether that's lawful good or evil is a matter of opinion. So priest versus vampire, let's go. It's like Helsing up in here. The fight between Kale and Hugo is quick. Kale leaps at Hugo, biting into his neck. Big mistake as Hugo turns Kale's head around 180 degrees, then plunges his fist into Kale's chest. Hugo recoils, apparently grabbing Kale's heart. It is a very painful experience. Kale quickly turns his head back around and the hole closes as he regenerates. Then they trade blows. Hugo inflicting 20 fatal wounds and pushing Kale's regeneration to the brink, while Hugo loses an eye, ear, and incurs several bone fractures. But disabling injuries in this story are more of a suggestion than something to keep track of. They acknowledge each other's strength before their match is interrupted. They are interrupted as the Infernal Gladiator comes in, rated at a high hurricane. He's a giant flaming gladiator zombie with a colossal sword. Also, he's apparently converted two voids into his battle slaves. The Freak, just a tall guy with an extra wide mouth, and the Humanish Centipede. It crawls around on 10 arms and has 6 eyes, a metal mask obscuring its mouth. These voids are rated at mid-tornadoes. Hugo and Kale agree that all three are godless abominations and decide to team up. Part 2 ends with Sandu and the narrator realizing that someone is in the room with them, and whoever they are, they're giggling softly, trying not to be heard. So I love the Hugo and Kale team up. I'm all about it. It's like Alexander Anderson and Alucard teaming up, and I love it. Plus, I like the little drop of mystery about the unseen figure in the narrator's room. The series really does a great job at giving me little breadcrumbs to grab onto. Whether it be weird little mysteries or the excitement of an upcoming fight, I keep wanting more. Jumping into part 3, the narrator and Sandu decide to ignore the laughing, probably a great decision. We get right back into the action as the Infernal Gladiator releases his minions. The Freak is quickly dispatched by Hugo, who does his favorite thing by cranking its head around to face the wrong direction. Kale has a harder time with the Humanish Centipede getting wrapped up before Hugo stomps on its head. Then both attempt to attack the Infernal Gladiator, each of their strikes being met with severe burns because he's a giant flaming zombie. Kale attempts to take a bite out of the Gladiator, which can't feel good, before being punched so hard he ragdolls across the room with a crater in his chest, seemingly struggling to regenerate. Hugo exchanges blows with the Gladiator, but suffers more damage, losing one of his arms. In desperation, he declares that this will be his final test, and he removes the upper portion of his robes, showing a scarred body. His scars glow bright red along with his eyes as the Gladiator swings his massive sword. In a blur, Hugo shatters the sword, creates a new hole in the Gladiator's chest, and predictably repositions the Gladiator's head with extreme force. Then Hugo collapses. Kale regenerates enough to try and help Hugo up, but Hugo says this is the end, to which Kale ignores him, picks him up, and tries to find somewhere to patch him up, saying that he owes him one. We get an update on some other named voids. Satanbot has eliminated 2 unnamed low-level voids. Morgie the Corgi is engaged in combat with the mechanic, basically a large burly man who likes to rearrange your bones with large tools. Also, the undead German soldier has made short work of someone known as the Devil Nurse. We are told 12 voids have been eliminated and about 20 remain. Still waiting for Morgie to die because he's my least favorite so far, but sadly I don't get to have that yet. We're then told by the narrator that there are 4 voids who haven't left containment. The Titan, which is a 15-foot tall monstrosity with 6 eyes and caustic teeth. If you've ever seen Attack on Titan, just imagine the colossal Titan with 6 eyes. Then we have the Warden, a reference to one of Mr. Outlaw's earlier stories. The Calamity of Earth, which no one knows anything about, save that if it ever broke containment, it would destroy the Earth rather quickly. There are no cameras on it, only a light panel. Green means contained, yellow means breach in progress, red means too late. Finally, the Kid, who is a 16-year-old with unknown abilities and seemingly just a normal kid. Only thing stated about him is that he was the sole survivor of an incident in his village back in India. I will say, the Calamity of Earth and the Kid are definitely mysteries that hooked me, especially the Kid, because that's the second mention of someone who is the sole survivor of some vague and terrible incident. I do wonder if that'll go anywhere. We focus on a new fight, Jack the Ripper, who is still alive because of some sort of ritual, and Bella, or the Bloody Painter. We catch them mid-fight with Jack on the ropes, wielding Wirehead's bat. He deals a little bit of damage on Death's Door, damaging Bella's leg and ribs, before she finishes Jack the Ripper off with a hail of blades, her ability being that she can conjure razor-sharp blades and fire them off like bullets. She has little time to recover, though, as Luz, semi-regenerated, saunters in. Bella offers a handshake to him, which Luz reciprocates without electrocuting Bella. Another team up, let's go! Morgie has apparently taken out the mechanic, limping his way to an encounter with Satanbot. If the furry beats Satanbot, I'm going to be so mad. The undead German soldier is squaring up with the sadistic Soviet, who, unlike the undead German soldier, is kept alive by mechanical devices. The surgeon is in a bloody duel with Spider-Man, but not the Spider-Man you know. This is more like a man spider, basically a tarantula with a human face and human skin, which is a horrifying visual. We get a body count update that 14 voids are eliminated. We're told Kale is patching up Hugo in the infirmary, and we are told Task Force Void Nova Hammer is most likely on its way. What does that mean? Don't worry about it, we'll get there. This section ends with the giggling figure emerging from the shadows, a skinny young man who is an unknown person. Part 4 begins with the introducing of Adrian. Adrian is a dimension-hopping drug addict who is behind the current situation. He apparently hacked the facility to release all the voids. His motivation? While dimension hopping, he stayed on a rather criminal planet watching something called the Evisceration Matches, and promised the owner of these fights, one Bones the Fourth, he could get him a winning fighter in exchange for Astro Coke. Sandu attempts to tackle Adrian at this point for his crimes, but is easily brushed aside. The reason for Adrian's strength? He's done a lot of interdimensional drugs, and one of them had to be a steroid at some point, as Adrian puts it. Our narrator asks Adrian how he plans to corral the last void standing from this bloody free-for-all, to which Adrian says he lives in the moment. Adrian is a very unlikable character, basically being a more chaotic Rick Sanchez. Sometimes this story just feels like a mishmash of things the author lacks, and somehow it still works. Big ups to Mr. Outlaw. Keep doing you, my dude. We get some fight updates. The undead German soldier has defeated the sadistic Soviet off-screen, a fight Adrian is upset to have missed. Morgie is finally dead at the hands of Satanbot, and the surgeon has opened up Spider-Man to find that he is full of tiny Spider-Man babies, which are overrunning him, which is just a fun visual. Bella and Luz are looking to escape from the chasm, and Kale and Hugo have just run into the Rowdy Clown. The Rowdy Clown is an eyeless, tall humanoid whose weapon of choice is a lead balloon attached to barbed wire. The clown damages Kale's face by spitting a caustic substance on it, and then attempts to end the still injured Hugo with his balloon. Kale intercepts the attack before sprouting wings, ascending, and then drop-kicking the clown's head off. A quick fight, but I am happy the Kale and Hugo buddy cop movie is still going. I love that subplot in here. The surgeon, having not been in eyesight, uses his ability to teleport behind the narrator, but is quickly dispatched by Adrian, who turns his head around 270 degrees. Apparently, Adrian doesn't like when people run from a fight. What remains of Spider-Man and his broodlings is torched by the undead German soldier. Sadly, the undead German soldier is cursed to constantly be in conflict and encounters the Chattering Man, an individual with his eyes wrapped in bloody cloth, his limbs jagged and covered in translucent skin. his mouth overly large and filled with gigantic, chattering teeth. The undead German soldier attempts to burn the chattering man, who easily walks through the flames, bites the tank of the flamethrower, which explodes, propelling the combatants away from each other. The German grievously wounded, and the chattering man only cracking a few teeth. They engage again, a fight that is decidedly one-sided, as the chattering man chomps away at the zombified soldier before putting both hands inside the zombie's torso and tearing it asunder. I personally liked the chattering man as a concept. It's a fun visual, cool concept, total powerhouse. If he had any personality, I'd like him a lot more, but as a concept, kind of neat, kind of scary. Might tell my kids that's what the Tooth Fairy looks like. Kale and Hugo end up in the proximity of the Dancing Man. The Dancing Man is a racially ambiguous man whose eyes are always closed, clothed in a tracksuit. He listens to music and is always dancing. The only thing he cares about is music and dancing. Basically, he is harmless as long as you stayed out of his way. Apparently, he has the ability to turn anyone he touches into a thin red paste. He can literally just dance through you. Hugo expressed interest in fighting him, but Kale, knowing better, decides to scoop up the still injured Hugo and flee from this fight. Again, another character I kind of love. In my head, I think the Dancing Man is just doing the party rock theme dance the whole time, and I can't describe how fun that visual is to me. We finally get another proper fight, Satanbot vs. Long Wu, or the Mechanical Menace. Long Wu is basically Iron Man if his suit was adaptable. His mechanical suit can create all types of weapons, and he's rated at a mid-asteroid, so one of the strongest voids in the chasm. Long starts by creating a chain gun in his chest and opening fire on Satanbot. He dodges this onslaught and closes the distance, striking with his pronged tail. Long deflects this with a shield he generated from his suit, and then also generates an axe in an attempt to cleave off the tail. Satanbot dodges. Long generates a meat grinder-like tool which removes Satanbot's arm. The bot responds by striking with its tail again before its chest opens up, revealing its ultimate attack. A beam of concentrated purple energy erupts, scorching Long's helmet slightly as he dodges, the blast blowing a hole clean through the chasm out to clear sky. As Satanbot tries to recover, Wu blows him to pieces with an automated grenade launcher, Adrian excitedly declaring Long Wu's his favorite. And honestly, I kind of like him too. The hole in the chasm draws the attention of Bella and Luz. Bella attempts to leap free of the prison only to be caught by the neck by a man entering the chasm in a streamlined, mechanized suit of armor. He casually strangles her as he surveys the prison, commenting in disgust about the mess. We are informed by Adrian, this is Task Force Void Nova Hammer, and this is where Part 4 ends. Again, great cliffhanger. I'm so interested in what happens next. Big ups to Mr. Outlaw all over. The overarching story's still weak, but I'm still so into all this fighting and hyperviolence. Just full off the rails, anime level stuff going on. Part 5 opens with an explanation that Nova Hammer is a rotating group of semi-sane voids that are heavily monitored but are the last line of defense in these breach situations. The one currently stringing Bella is Kente, the Guillotine Sanders. Bella tries to blast him with a series of her psychic blades, but he crushes her hand. Luz attempted to attack Kente as well, driving his hand into Kente's neck and trying to electrocute him. Kente releases Bella, who runs off, before slamming Luz to the ground and stomping the life out of him. We are informed Kente was the man who destroyed his entire tribe, and are given a little more exposition. Kente is what could be described as lawful stupid. Rehabilitation is not a concept to him. If you do a crime, you die. No time to rest, though, as Kente and Long Wu charge each other, both with flying kicks, which they catch respectively. Classic martial arts movie gimmick there. Wu uses his suit to create a shotgun and start blasting away at Kente's armor, then deliver the knee to Kente's helmet that cracks it. Kente responds by striking him in the body, which cracks the suit a little bit, which was thought impossible. Before they continue their clash, though, the rest of Task Force Void Nova Hammer arrives. And we are introduced to Ken, the fugitive Rio. His ability is that he can open portals and conjure monsters from alternate dimensions. Besides that, pretty normal guy. Nasir, the Bloody Twister, he can convert his body into a hurricane of glass and fire off shards at will. Callista, the Demon Tailor, a former fashion model that has some intangible demon form, she is described as being volatile. Clint, the normal guy Rockwell, he is not a void. He was a normal guy in an oversized suit of power armor and has a special gun called the God-slaying cannon. He's also a callback to another story by Mr. Outlaw. And finally, the leader, Jack the All-American Barnes. He was chosen to be engineered into a superhuman. He's basically Homelander without flying. Jack tries to rally his group against Wu, and Wu doesn't like his odds, so he kind of flees to a lower level. Jack instructs his team to go make some mincemeat and warns them that he'll come after them if they step out of line. He instructs Ken Ryu to guard the exit and descends to fight Wu. And that's where part 5 ends, just leaving us with a bunch of new character introductions. I don't know how we're expected to remember all that, but luckily, I've condensed it, so maybe it'll be a little bit easier. If you're enjoying the anime tier nonsense so far, this story only gets more peak anime nonsense the further we get into it. Like, you ain't seen nothing yet. I wonder at times if this story is a criticism of hyperviolence in anime or a love letter to it, because I can't tell. Part 5 opens with Nasir from Nova Hammer stumbling across the Dancing Man. He attempts to strike him, but is imperceptibly propelled backwards hard enough to make a human-shaped crater in a wall. He loses an arm and a portion of his chest in the exchange, but regenerates these wounds using his glass and comments that the man is strong before walking off. To the confusion of Adrian and the narrator, Sandu, though, is focused on the kid's monitor. That's the only monitor that seems to be of interest to him. We jump to another fight where Callista from Nova Hammer is squaring off against Hugo and Kale. Kale doing most of the fighting. In her demon form, her fingers are like razors and easily chop away at Kale. Hugo inquires if Kale can match her. When he finds out that Kale is not able to, he, despite his injured state, begins to glow again. Hugo tells us that the last time he used his form, he only detached his spirit halfway. Kale protests knowing using that form again would kill Hugo, jumping between Callista and Hugo to prevent him from using it. Just in the nick of time, the Chattering Man emerges from around a corner, biting off one of Callista's arms. Kale and Hugo make an expeditious retreat in the chaos, and Callista uses her remaining hand to slice at the Chattering Man, as he savages her right back. Unable to get significant damage onto the creature with strikes alone, she drives her arm into the creature's mouth and up through its head, but not before the creature delivers a savage, decapitating blow. The fight ended in a draw between the two. Checking back on the contained voids, we learn the kid is still in his cell, the Calamity of Earth is still showing a green light, and the Titan is still contained. The Warden, however, is approached by Clint from Nova Hammer, who declares he's here to clean up unfinished business with the Warden. This is a reference to another story by the author that has to do with the dimension hopping. Let me know if that's something that interests you in the comments. I might actually tackle that one. It's a pretty good story, too. The Warden wastes no time charging Clint at blinded speed and ramming Clint's power armor into the wall, destroying the glass visor and then proceeding to ragdoll Clint around, eventually getting on top of him and chipping away at the armor. Clint fires off a grenade from the God-slaying cannon, which causes a minor wound and creates some distance. Clint's power armor is in tatters, and he's broken a blood vessel in his eye. Clint reveals a white crystal that he uses to lacerate his own skin. The Warden recognizes the crystal and in a rage smashes into Clint, then drilling a fist hard into his chest. Somehow Clint, though, is still standing from what seems to have been a fatal blow. The crystal seems to be making him more durable. In a rage, the Warden drags Clint to the toilet and smashes his head against it until the middle frame breaks. Clint gets away and dives for the God-slaying cannon and releases a barrage of grenades, all of which the Warden easily dodges. He then flips a switch on the cannon and it changes form into an energy rifle and it fires off a red beam that devastates the room. It's not enough, though. The Warden stands up from the rubble, his body half charred. Clint, in desperation, reaches for 2 syringes, injecting one, but the Warden closes the distance and crushes Clint's hand with the syringe in it, inadvertently cutting Clint and allowing the fluid in that syringe to seep into his blood.
whatever was in there buffed him to you cannot believe. He starts exchanging blows with the warden, but there is still a huge power gap. Clint is able to dodge, but the warden is able to do devastating damage with every strike he lands. Eventually, Clint is forced to the ground, mounted and savaged with like some UFC ground and pound. Clint, being the more trained fighter, is able to slip from under the warden and place him in a chokehold, holding him until the warden stops kicking. After rolling out from under the warden, Clint stands and then falls to the ground. His status? Unknown. We switch to another monitor. Bella is approaching the hole that leads out of the chasm when Ken Ryu, who is still stationed there, stops her. They have a back and forth. Ken, clearly interested romantically in Bella from a past incident where she tried to assassinate him. After a brief conversation about morality and selflessness and whether or not the voids contained in the chasm all belong there, Bella walks away and Ken abandons his post. It should be noted, Bella did not flee the chasm at this point. She is still in play. We get a brief flash over to Jack from Nova Hammer and Wu having a bit of a Marvel quip contest, just reminding us that that's an upcoming fight. We get a quick jump to another view. Kente is stalking the corridors, punching walls, completely sane man, before being challenged by Senju, who is apparently alive, his head now replaced with a flaming blue skull. Adrian explains to us that resurrection is a component of the race technique. We also learn that Kente killed everyone in Senju's dojo, which is the most anime thing that has been said in this story so far. It's also the second person claiming Kente wronged them. I really can't understress how anime that is. You killed everyone in my dojo. I'm here to take revenge. Oh my god, what is this, Naruto? Let's go. I love this. Adrian comments how cool the room they are watching all this from is, and this causes some confusion because our narrator thought Adrian made this room. His suspicion shifting now to Sandu, who told him about the room and is still focused on the kid. We finally get to the Jack vs. Wu fight. Jack challenges Wu to fisticuffs, to which he receives a powerful shotgun blast to the chest from Wu's mechanized suit. It's kind of like when Indiana Jones just shoots the guy with the sword. This flings Jack back and enrages him. They begin exchanging incomprehensibly fast blows, attacking wildly, Jack shattering pieces of Wu's suit and Wu taking chunks out of Jack's flesh, claiming a finger and an eye in the exchange. Eventually, Wu is able to force Jack to the ground into a chokehold. It looks over, but Jack's fist begins glowing red and he's able to connect with Wu's head. Jack gets back to his feet, his other hand glowing blue. He dubs this the Stars and Stripes technique. The Stars and Stripes technique. Come on, let's go. Who do all you guys like in this fight? You like the all-American Stars and Straps technique, or do you like the Chinese robot? Which one you like? Tell me down in the comments. I know which one I like. In this form, he is able to crack the front of Wu's torso armor, exposing his vitals. Taking advantage of the opening, Jack strikes, doing immense eternal damage to Wu and sending him over a railing. And I swear to God, this place is like a railing factory. There's railings everywhere. Wu crashes to a lower floor, and Jack jumps down after him. Wu stands at the edge of death. Jack and him have a dialogue about not being so different. Cliche superhero and villain crap. And Wu pulls out his final weapon, his ultimate technique, the Singularity Blade. Jack answers in kind as the red and blue glow expands past his fist to his entire body, his eyes shining white. Now he is truly like the American flag. I'm sorry, there are times where I can't not laugh because it's so over the top. I love it so much. It's so stupid and yet somehow so perfect. Wu swings his blade, releasing a dragon-like creature that begins to savage Jack, its teeth shattering on Jack's skin. Jack pummels away at it as it grows larger and larger. Jack removes one of the creature's eyes and starts bashing its head again and again. The creature slams Jack into a wall, giving him an opportunity to finish, obliterating its head. Then, falling to the ground before Wu, the Singularity Blade shatters. They acknowledge each other's strength, and Jack ends the fight with a punch. making it only a few steps before his aura fades and he falls to the ground dead, his ever-present smile still plastered on his face. We jump to the middle of the Senju and Kente fight. Kente is choking and taunting Senju about how weak he is because this is an anime now. It is no longer a horror story, it is just pretending to be one. Senju continues to try to fight, but is easily battered away by Kente. Eventually, from nowhere, Hugo enters the fray, throwing as many strikes as he can, but also is easily batted away. Kale enters soon, inquiring into why Hugo got involved, and we learn that Kente also killed Hugo's mentor. The alliance of Kale, Senju, and Hugo attempt to overcome Kente, but are easily tossed around as if they are nothing. Hugo reveals that he is currently at 99% detachment from his body, stating he is 10 times stronger at 100%, which Kale calls mathematically improbable. Hugo goes 100% and starts overwhelming Kente, his fists altering air molecules as they fly. He gets the upper hand by savaging Kente, but just as the finishing blow is to come, Kente surprises everyone by catching it, then snapping Hugo's spine by slamming him over a nearby railing. Which, again, how many railings are there in this goddamn building? Is it just all catwalks? What the hell? That being said, my heart is as broken as Hugo's spine right now because I really like that character. Kente then sets his sights on Kale, making quick work with a few throws before planting him into a wall, a place that Kale ends up very often, causing enough damage to even overcome the vampire's impressive regeneration. Now all that's left is Senju, who is clearly in a bad spot. Sandu thinks he knows a way to help and rushes out of the room. Our narrator follows, Adrian content to stay in front of the monitors. That's the end of part 7. As you can see, we are reaching peak anime here. We got people going to arbitrary power levels, somehow just getting stronger mid-fight. Oh man, it's fantastic. It's just so schlocky and dumb, and I can't turn away. Part 8 begins with Sandu and the narrator running, eventually reaching the cell of the kid whose name is AJ. Apparently Sandu was the one who made the secret observation room. He has some relation to AJ and is now here to encourage him to fight Kente, who, big surprise, was responsible for AJ's sole survivor status. They have a back and forth where AJ expresses fear at using his abilities and Sandu telling him it's the only way for them to get out of this alive. AJ acquiesces and is guided to Kente's last known location. There, they find a still barely alive Hugo, God bless, Kale, still broken and planted in a wall, and a smear that most likely used to be Senju. Kale asks if Hugo is still alive, and we get some confirmation that he might be. This exchange ends amicably with the narrator, AJ, and Sandu continuing their search for Kente, coming face to face with him quickly. Sandu urges AJ to fight him, but the kid is frozen in fear. Kente readies his finishing blow as Sandu shields AJ. Before the blow is struck, a shadow-like hand emerges and begins tossing Kente around, though this doesn't last long as the creature that owns that hand is quickly destroyed by Kente. Out from a corner emerges Ken Ryu, who has showed up to take on his former teammate in defense of AJ. Ken Ryu is no match for Kente, though. He summons monsters to help him defend himself, all the while trying to goad AJ into fighting. Apparently, he is too aware of AJ's power. The kid is still reluctant as Kente turns his rage on the narrator, tossing him into a nearby wall with little resistance. Ryu, in an act of desperation, opens 10 portals to summon a large number of powerful monsters, the act of which comes at the cost of him losing a lot of blood from his hairline and nose. 9 out of the 10 creatures are inconsequential as Kente is able to easily blitz them all, but he struggles against a 6-armed creature with a giant eye in its torso. They exchange blows, Kente disregarding all his previous martial prowess and focusing mostly on dealing damage. The creature is able to stagger Kente and deal some damage of its own, but the narrator suddenly realizes that Kente is getting bigger in both size and strength as each fight goes on. Eventually, Kente is able to overcome the creature by forcing it into a guillotine choke and popping its head off like a cork. Ryu attempts to summon another creature, but this one is also quickly obliterated. Ryu has little time to respond as Kente charges him, grabbing him by the leg and attempting to slam him into the ground. A would-be fatal blow if Ryu had not opened a portal summoning a marshmallow monster below him to take some of the impact. Ryu is able to escape just before Kente stomps the floor and destroys the creature and a lot of the floor in the process. Ryu begs AJ to do something in desperation, and as our narrator looks over, he can feel the room shake as AJ becomes a blurrish outline with red eyes glowing from within. This is the end of part 8, and I am so ready for part 9. Who you guys rooting for at this point? I want Hugo to come back and seize victory personally, but let me know what your predictions are down in the comments. Part 9 opens with AJ transforming into a golden, hulking warrior form and begins beating Kente down, driving his spear through the man and dragging him across the room. Kente frees himself from the spear and tries to fight back, but is rebuked and savaged during a few more engagements before he seems to grow larger and stronger, finally defeating AJ's warrior form. But that's not the end of AJ. The form changes to an archer on top of a horse. This form doesn't last long. AJ being dragged from the back of the horse and slammed on the ground with extreme force. And at this point, AJ starts cycling through warrior forms, all based on historical warriors like Roman centurions and Zulu warriors, but they're all quickly defeated. Kente goes on a rant as he does this, giving us the most anime lore drop of the series, an explanation of how he got his powers. The evolution ritual, considered to be one of the cruelest experiments known to man. This was conducted on Kente. The ritual consists of taking 100 men, putting them in a room, and telling them only the victor gets to leave. You do this hundreds of times with multiple groups over and over. You take the winners, and then you put them in a room chained to a bed with no food or no water or no light for an extended period of time. The men who survived this would undergo some transformation surpassing some human threshold that is the origin of Kente's adaptive abilities. I don't know, I guess it's kind of like a more violent version of how One Punch Man got his powers. After the description, Kente destroys another of AJ's forms before he shifts into his second to last form, a hulking Templar Knight. We are told that this is AJ's final form before he becomes something terrible. The situation looks hopeless until Nasir walks in nonchalantly, commenting on Kente's size. Kente asks if Nasir has betrayed him as well, before we hear the booming footsteps of the Titan. Nasir has apparently released the Titan. We are told Kente and the Titan are roughly the same size now, so 15 feet, and they begin a quick exchange before Kente easily finishes off what is considered one of the most destructive voids. Nasir celebrates his victory, but uncertain of his motivations, Kente decides to just vaporize him with a punch. Again, things look hopeless. A stream of projectiles strikes Kente's head, revealing Bella, the bloody painter, has re-entered the fray. Along with her is Kale. They tell the group they have a plan, but they need 30 seconds. They're powering up the special beam cannon, I guess. Which against Kente seems impossible. Kale jumps in, trying to do some damage, but is planted firmly into a wall easily. And, you know, that's just where he naturally ends up. He's like Genos from One Punch Man. Take your guesses for what the plan is down below. The group wastes about 20 seconds, Ryu using his portals to summon more creatures who don't last long, and Kale getting predictably planted into walls over and over again. All this to prevent AJ from transforming again. There are 10 seconds left. Our narrator finally gets involved, calling out Kente and charging him, a fist coming to meet him. Our narrator expecting death, but conveniently slipping on blood because of plot armor, and only getting a little bit of a scratch on his face. The countdown is over as Bella gets Kente's attention by shooting a stream of blades at him again. This causes him to rush forward. She dodges just as the dancing man emerges from around the corner. Kente has no way to stop his forward momentum and runs headlong into the dancing guy, barely phasing him, but forcing him to drop his MP3 player. A big no-no in the chasm. The dancing guy opens his eyes, lets out a reality-warping scream of primal anger, which turns Kente into a red slushie before he picks up his MP3 player, closes his eyes, and starts doing the shuffle as he exits the room. Clearly, all better now after his nightmarish tantrum. I have a major question here. How did Bella and Kale lure the dancing guy here? His eyes are closed. He's always listening to music. How did you get him here? You know what? I don't know. I don't care. Dancing guy is apparently the MVP, and I'm all about it. Let's go. We get a moment of calm as Kale informs us that Hugo didn't make it. My heart breaks again. And Kale tells us Hugo was the first friend he had in a long time. Again, my heart breaks. Bella and Ken have some dialogue and a kiss because someone always gets the girl in an anime and they have history, so it makes sense, I guess. Sure, whatever. And Sandu thanks everyone for saving AJ, which leaves me wondering what his final form was. My theory is it's like just a nuke. But you go ahead, you tell me what you think his final form might have been. Part 9 ends with Adrian approaching. You guys remember Adrian? Well, turns out he wants to use the kid for the evisceration matches. Looks like this isn't over. Honestly, by the time Adrian came back into this story, I completely forgot he existed, so the reveal is fun. Let's see where this goes. Adrian attempts to attack Sandu, who is between him and AJ, but is blocked by Kale, whose arm breaks from the impact, and he is predictably tossed out of the way and planted in a wall. Bella opens fire on Adrian with a stream of blades cutting up his arm, while Ryu summons a gigantic skeleton wielding a chainsaw. Literally just a House of the Dead enemy. The skeleton, Bella, and Kale are able to force Adrian into a corner. He's able to get some damage in on the skeleton by damaging its skull and removing its arms, but Adrian is taking a ton of serious damage here. Forced to his limit, Adrian demands they release AJ to him or he will release the calamity of Earth. They decline and he flips the switch. Nothing happens as they all wait in silence, unsure of what is happening. Adrian takes advantage of everyone's moment of hesitation and runs off to find the calamity. The remaining group follows as Adrian gets to the cell containing the calamity, the light now yellow. Adrian descends and none follow. The light turns red and some time passes, everyone questioning what happened down there, where Adrian or the calamity are. Our narrator is compelled to see what became of Adrian, but is stopped as Clint shows up, asking how long the light's been red. When he finds out, he draws his gun and descends, followed by the group. They enter some sort of underground laboratory that appears to have been abandoned long ago. Adrian stands motionless in another room, watching a monitor. Our narrator attempts to see what he's looking at, being warned too late by Clint not to look. On the monitor is some sort of maddening entity swimming through space, a random collection of non-Euclidean shapes that is maddening to look at. The narrator undergoes some sort of hypnotic madness for an unknown duration before being pulled out of the room while the sound of gunshots ring out. Our narrator eventually comes to as Clint exits the room with Adrian's bullet-riddled body. We're told by Clint that the calamity is some sort of monstrous entity that you invite to your planet by becoming aware of it. If you can see it, it can see you. It's said to arrive on Earth in about 19,000 years, but they've all probably just reduced that by a few thousand. The predictable question of what now is revealed to us by Clint as well. He tells us the island is surrounded and they are ready to move in and eliminate everyone in the building. Thankfully, Clint is a dimension hopper too and takes everyone to a new place. We get some closure by the narrator telling us that them, Bella, Kale, Ryu, and Clint are going dimension hopping together while Sandu and AJ have unfinished business back in their home dimension. And that's where the story ends. I gotta say, again, this story is not the best for plot, but it's really good for cliffhangers and fights. I enjoy the crap out of this thing because it is nothing but hyper violence, anime nonsense, and just so over the top. It's so much fun. Go give it a listen. Go give it a read. Check it out yourself. Support the narrators out there. Support the original writer the best you can. If you'd like me to cover some more of his stuff in the future, please go ahead and tell me down in the comments because all of his stuff is over the top like this. The Calamity of Earth is its own story. It's got its own story that's over the top. That's got alien goo and superpowered people. The story of Clint and the Warden. It's got some interdimensional stuff and crystals that give you superpowers. It's a wild universe that Mr. Outlaw is out here creating, and I love it so much. I love to talk about things like this. Anyways, if you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Share it around if you know a place where people might be interested. Tell me if you remember this story, if you've seen it before. Tell me what you thought of the video as a whole. Positive feedback always welcome. Negative feedback also always welcome. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for listening.